There are some farewells that echo louder than others, some goodbyes that feel less like the end of a single life, and more like the turning of a page on an entire chapter of our collective memory. For those of us who grew up with the silver screen, with the larger-than-life figures who shaped our dreams and defined our heroes, the past few years have been a somber procession. One by one, the titans of a golden era have dimmed their lights, leaving us to wonder about the hidden costs of their brilliance. Today, we don't just mourn the passing of individual stars. We reflect on what their final acts reveal about the true nature of fame, the relentless pressure of a public persona, and the quiet, often devastating battles fought far from the Klieg lights. We've unearthed declassified tapes, private correspondences, and family accounts to bring you the untold stories behind the legends we thought we knew. The Hollywood curse, contable curse it seems, isn't always about a tragic early end. Sometimes it's about the slow, inexorable weight of an image that consumes the man or woman within, leaving behind a legacy and a truth far more complex than any movie script. For a generation, the name Chuck Norris was synonymous with invincibility. He wasn't just an actor. He was an internet deity, a punchline about immortality itself. Chuck Norris doesn't die, he just goes to heaven to regroup, the jokes would proclaim, and we'd all nod, half believing it. Carlos Ray Norris, the man behind the myth, rose from humble beginnings in Oklahoma, forging a path through martial arts that would eventually lead him to Hollywood. He wasn't an overnight sensation, but through sheer discipline and an undeniable screen presence, he carved out a niche as the stoic, unbreakable hero. From his early martial arts films to the long-running television phenomenon of Walker, Texas Ranger, he embodied a particular brand of American strength, a man who always stood for what was right, and who possessed the power to make sure justice was served. He was a symbol of unwavering resolve, a figure of comfort in a world that often felt chaotic. He was the hero who always won, the man who could never be touched by defeat. Think about that for a second. A man whose entire public identity was built on being impervious to harm. But behind the hardened exterior, the declassified production notes and his private correspondence reveal a different story. One steeped in profound human vulnerability. The Missing in Action franchise, where he famously played a special forces colonel returning to Vietnam to rescue prisoners of war, wasn't just a film role for him. It was a desperate cinematic exorcism. His younger brother, Wieland Norris, was killed in action in Vietnam in 1970. Chuck spent the next 2 decades on screen trying to complete a rescue mission that was impossible in real life. The curse wasn't a Hollywood invention. It was the relentless, echoing grief of a promise he could never keep. Every kick, every punch, every cinematic victory against an enemy on screen was a silent battle against a loss that no amount of fictional heroism could ever truly avenge. The public saw a hero, but the man was haunted by a brother he couldn't save. It was a profound and deeply personal pressure, fueling a career that, on the surface, seemed fueled by pure, unadulterated power. In his later years, as the internet memes proliferated and his legend grew, the real Carlos Ray Norris slowly receded from the public eye. His official passing was attributed to natural causes, a single, redacted line in the coroner's report. But the tapes we've recovered suggest something different. Not a physical ailment, not a sudden collapse, but a spiritual exhaustion. A heart that finally stopped trying to beat back the ghosts of an entire generation. The final devastating irony is that the culture turned Carlos Ray Norris, the man, into an invincible myth, while he himself was shaped entirely by the most profound and human vulnerability, the loss of his own brother. The myth was of a man who couldn't be touched by death, but the reality was a life lived in its shadow. In the end, the one thing a roundhouse kick couldn't stop was the quiet, inevitable truth of mortality. His retirement, his quiet retreat, wasn't about fading away. It was about finally being able to be a man, not a myth, tending to his family, and perhaps, at last, finding some peace from the battle he had fought for so long on screen. From the moment he uttered "Bond, James Bond," Sean Connery defined a genre, a character, and an entire era of cinematic cool. He was the original, the gold standard, a man of effortless charm, razor-sharp wit, and an undeniable physical presence. He was the embodiment of control, whether disarming a villain, charming a femme fatale, or simply raising an eyebrow. His career spanned decades, marked by iconic roles from the dashing secret agent to the wise mentor in Highlander, and the tough Irish cop in The Untouchables, for which he earned an Academy Award. We watched him age with a certain grace, his Scottish burr only deepening his authority, his silver hair adding to his distinguished allure. He was the man you wanted to be, or wanted to be with, a figure of unwavering strength and intelligence, seemingly immune to the ravages of time or the trials of life. He was, to us, invincible, a timeless icon who seemed to possess the secret to eternal swagger. Yet even for a titan like Connery, the curtain eventually falls, and often, the true story is far more poignant than any script. We've been chasing this Hollywood curse all wrong. It's not about dying young or a sudden dramatic end. We pulled the files on Connery, on Burt Reynolds, on Kirk Douglas, even the living legends like Norris. The threat isn't a secret society or a hex. The curse is that they were all paragons of invincibility. They were the tough guys, the unbreakable icons of masculinity. The declassified secret is this: their curse was to live long enough to become fragile, to have their bodies and, in Connery's case, their minds, betray the very myth that made them immortal. His public persona, his very essence, was built on sharpness, on being one step ahead. Imagine the silent, internal struggle as that sharpness began to dull, as the keen intellect that defined him started to recede. The world saw the legend, but the man was grappling with an invisible adversary, one that steals memories and clarity, piece by agonizing piece. The public record stated his passing was due to pneumonia, heart failure, and old age. Clinical, almost mundane. But the tapes his wife Micheline released to the press tell the real story. The secret the family guarded was his battle with a profound cognitive decline. He wasn't the man we knew for some time. The official cause was the final breath. The real cause was a slow, tragic fade from reality. He died in his sleep, but he had been leaving us for years. The supreme, crushing irony is that Sean Connery's entire persona was built on control. He was the man with the plan, the razor-sharp intellect, the physical dominance to escape any trap. From Bond to Ramirez in Highlander, he was the master of his own fate. Yet his final chapter was a complete surrender of that control. The man who embodied sharp, decisive action was ultimately undone by the slow, aimless fog of cognitive decline, a prison from which there was no clever escape. He spent his career playing men who could never be beaten, only to be beaten by the most human and humbling condition of all. I'm sure many of you have watched a loved one slowly recede, lost in the fog of memory's betrayal. It's a pain that transcends fame, a universal sorrow. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the private struggles our heroes endure far from the cameras in the quiet solitude of their homes? In the 1970s and early 80s, there was no bigger star on the planet than Burt Reynolds. He was the king of the box office, a charismatic force of nature with a mischievous grin, a quick wit, and a swagger that was utterly irresistible. From the raw intensity of Deliverance to the pure, unadulterated fun of Smokey and the Bandit, he captivated audiences like few others. He was the epitome of masculine cool, the guy who could outrun the law in a Trans Am or hold his own against any challenge. His iconic mustache, his easy charm, he made it all look so effortless. He was the kind of star who felt like your best friend, your cool older brother, and the guy who always knew how to have a good time. He was a symbol of freedom, of rebellion, of living life on your own terms. He was a movie star in every sense of the word, and for a decade, he reigned supreme. But this era of seemingly effortless cool came with its own profound burdens. This is what we're calling the alpha's burden. It was the Hollywood curse of the 20th century male icon. They were sold to the public as indestructible, the epitome of swagger and masculine cool. But behind the scenes, it was a gilded cage. For Reynolds, every wisecrack and muscle car burnout was a desperate attempt to outrun a deep-seated insecurity, a desire to be seen as a serious artist. He fought against the typecasting, against the image that made him famous. The physical toll of his famous stunts, the financial calamities that followed his peak, the public heartbreaks, all contributed to a profound sense of pressure. He felt trapped by the very persona that brought him fame, constantly battling to prove there was more to Burt Reynolds than the charming rogue. The curse wasn't a phantom, it was the persona itself, a devil's bargain that granted him fame but demanded his body, his peace of mind, and, as the declassified Norris tapes reveal, his very soul in regret for the roles he couldn't escape. Officially, the record states his passing was due to cardiopulmonary arrest, but the tapes tell a different story. The real cause was a lifetime of strain, a heart worn out not just by age, but by the relentless pressure of being Burt Reynolds, the physical toll of stunt work, the financial calamities, the public heartbreaks. It was a slow-motion collapse decades in the making. In his final years, he spoke with a candor that was both heartbreaking and illuminating. The ultimate irony is this. For a decade, Burt Reynolds was the biggest, most bankable movie star on the planet. He projected an image of effortless cool, of a man who had it all and didn't give a damn. But the secret truth, the story he tried to tell in his final years, is that he felt he had nothing. The man who symbolized absolute confidence was consumed by regret. He won the game, then spent the rest of his life convinced he had lost. His passing marked the end of an era, a reminder that even the brightest stars can carry the heaviest burdens, and that sometimes the greatest victories can leave the deepest scars. For many of us, Olivia Newton-John will forever be etched in our memories as Sandy Olsen, the sweet, innocent Australian newcomer who captivated Danny Zuko in Grease. Her transformation from demure student to leather-clad bombshell was iconic, a moment that defined a generation. But long before Rydell High, Olivia was a beloved pop star, enchanting audiences with her pure voice and wholesome image. She was America's sweetheart, a ray of sunshine whose music brought joy to millions. Her career was a tapestry of success. From chart-topping hits to memorable film roles, always delivered with an undeniable charm and grace. She was the girl next door who made it big, and we adored her for it. Her public persona was one of optimism, gentle strength, and an almost ethereal beauty that seemed untouched by the cynicism of the world. She embodied a kind of innocent hope that felt rare and precious. Yet beneath that radiant smile, Olivia Newton-John was fighting a war that few could truly comprehend. This is the icon curse, the very core of our investigation. It's not about dying young. It's about your identity being permanently overwritten by a single role. Connery was forever Bond, a license to kill and a symbol of masculine cool, even in his frailty. Norris became a living meme of invincibility, a man who couldn't be hurt, even as he aged. For Olivia Newton-John, she was fused with Sandy Olsen. She was America's sweetheart, the innocent girl next door, eternally. The secret tape we've uncovered isn't audio, it's the subtext of her life. While fighting a brutal, recurrent, and terrifying disease, a battle waged across 3 decades, the world demanded she remain hopeful, positive, and gentle. The real-life embodiment of the character she played at 28. Her private agony was filtered through a public persona of perpetual innocence, a profound disconnect that few could ever truly manage. How often do we truly appreciate the immense courage it takes for our heroes to face their deepest fears while simultaneously upholding the perfect image we demand of them? Officially, her passing was attributed to metastatic breast cancer, the final battle in a 3-decade war waged with remarkable public grace. But the declassified truth, however, is that the curse doesn't kill you. It just reframes your death. Every headline, every tribute was a testament to her strength, but always through the lens of the persona she could never escape. The ultimate irony is almost heartbreaking. In Grease, her character undergoes a radical, leather-clad transformation to be seen as more than just a sweet, innocent girl. In real life, Olivia spent the next 40 years trapped in that sweet, innocent girl persona, even as she faced down one of life's most aggressive villains. The performance that made her a global icon also became her golden cage. The world wanted Sandy, but the woman fighting for her life was Olivia, a warrior of immense spirit and quiet resilience. Her legacy is one of both musical brilliance and an enduring testament to the human spirit's ability to find light even in the darkest of times, all while carrying the weight of an iconic image. Sidney Poitier was more than an actor. He was a monument, a trailblazer, whose very presence on screen reshaped American cinema and indeed American society. Born into poverty in the Bahamas, he rose to become the first black man to win an Academy Award for Best Actor for Lilies of the Field in 1963. His roles in films like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and In the Heat of the Night were not just performances. They were cultural events, challenging prejudices and paving the way for future generations. He exuded dignity, intelligence, and an unwavering moral compass. He was the hero who commanded respect, the man who could bridge divides with his quiet authority and powerful conviction. For many, he was the embodiment of grace under pressure, a symbol of hope and progress in a nation grappling with its own tumultuous history. His rise was a testament to his immense talent, his unwavering resolve, and his profound understanding of the power of storytelling. But the Hollywood curse for this generation of titans wasn't dying young. It was living long enough to be imprisoned by their own legend. The declassified tapes and logs on Poitier, Connery, and their contemporaries reveal a shared sentence, a life of myth-making. For Poitier, the burden was heavier than any other. He wasn't just an actor, he was a social experiment, a vessel for the hopes and scrutiny of an entire nation. Every role was a negotiation, every line delivery was a political statement. He couldn't afford to be flawed, to be anything less than perfect, because he carried the weight of an entire race's representation on his shoulders. The curse was that he could never just be an actor. He had to be Sidney Poitier, the monument, every second of his public life. This profound pressure meant he was often denied the opportunity to explore the full range of human experience in his roles, forced to portray characters of unimpeachable virtue, lest he reinforced negative stereotypes. It was a singular, isolating burden, a constant tightrope walk in the public eye. His passing, at the age of 94, was officially attributed to cardiopulmonary failure, with underlying cognitive decline and prostate cancer. The official record is clinical, but it masks the true exhaustion of a body that carried the weight of a world for so many years. The deepest irony, the one whispered in the archival recordings, is this. The man who shattered the color barrier and opened the door for black actors to play any role they wished, the hero, the lover, the villain, the everyman, was the one man who could never enjoy that freedom himself. His singular role as the breaker of barriers demanded a constant, unwavering performance of unimpeachable dignity. He fought for a freedom on screen that his own unique position in history denied him personally. Sidney Poitier created a new world for others, but he himself had to remain a titan in the old one. His quiet decline was a stark contrast to the thunderous impact of his life, a reminder that even the strongest among us eventually succumb to the quiet march of time, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire, even as we mourn the man who bore its immense weight. Raquel Welch burst onto the scene in the 1960s, a force of nature whose image redefined glamour and sensuality. Her iconic fur bikini in 1 million years BC became a symbol, an indelible part of pop culture history. She was a global sensation, an undeniable presence who commanded attention in every frame. But to simply label her a sex symbol would be to miss the fierce intelligence and ambition that lay beneath the surface. She worked tirelessly, starring in a diverse array of films, from westerns to musicals, always striving to prove her versatility and acting chops. She was a trailblazer in her own right, navigating a Hollywood that often tried to pigeonhole her, fighting to be taken seriously as an actress and a businesswoman. She was a woman who understood her power, but who also sought to control her narrative, to demonstrate that her beauty was just one facet of her considerable talent. Her rise was meteoric, and she sustained it through sheer force of will and an unwavering commitment to her craft. Yet the very image that launched her to superstardom became a gilded cage, a constant battleground. This is the core of the Hollywood curse we've been tracking. It's not a phantom, it's a pattern. The tapes don't lie. Look at the legends from that same era of seemingly invincible physicality. Connery, the indestructible 007, his final adversary wasn't a villain with a gadget. It was a degenerative cognitive condition. Norris, the man who couldn't be broken, effectively retired to become a full-time warrior for his wife against an invisible, chronic illness. And now Welch, the ultimate icon of physical perfection, brought down by an enemy no camera could see, no trainer could defeat, a degenerative neurological disease. The curse is that the very titans who projected immortal strength were ultimately consumed by the quiet, cellular betrayal of the human body and mind. Raquel spent her entire career fighting desperately to be recognized for her mind, her wit, and her intelligence, pushing back against a Hollywood that only wanted to sell her body. This was her profound, personal struggle, a pressure that never truly abated. Her passing at 82 was publicly announced as due to a brief illness. The public record was sanitized, but the declassified document, her death certificate, reveals the unvarnished truth the system wanted to hide. Cardiac arrest. But the contributing factor, the secret war she fought away from the Klieg lights, was a progressive cognitive decline. The mind, the one thing the studios couldn't own, was under siege. The most profound and cruel irony in the Welch file is this. She spent her entire career fighting desperately to be recognized for her mind, her wit, and her intelligence, pushing back against a Hollywood that only wanted to sell her body. In the end, the curse granted a twisted version of her wish. The disease stole the very mind she fought so hard to have acknowledged, leaving behind only the immortal, silent image of the bombshell. Her body became her final, lasting monument. Her mind, the secret casualty. Her legacy is a complex one, a testament to enduring beauty, fierce ambition, and the heartbreaking reality that some battles, no matter how bravely fought, cannot be won against the relentless march of time and the quiet, internal struggles that define our final chapters. The stories of these legends, Chuck Norris, Sean Connery, Burt Reynolds, Olivia Newton-John, Sidney Poitier, and Raquel Welch, are more than just tales of Hollywood glamour and tragic ends. They are poignant reminders that even our most iconic figures are, at their core, intensely human. They faced pressures, battled demons, and confronted the relentless march of time and illness, just like the rest of us. The Hollywood curse, it seems, is not a mystical hex, but the profound weight of expectation, the relentless gaze of the public, and the inescapable truth of our own mortality. These were the giants who defined an era, shaping our memories and our understanding of what a star could be. Their light may have dimmed, but the lessons of their lives and the truth behind their legends shine on. Take care of yourselves and hold your loved ones close. Memory is the only thing that truly lasts forever.